Bang, bang.
Yeah, you're a six-packing mama, so go for it. All right, here you go. All right, this is nothing personal, but you're the dog. So.
It's all right.
Yeah, and you're going to say man's best friend.
Man's best friend.
That's right. She takes care of Chester when I bring him in. You're the cabin. So every time you hear the word cabin, you're going to say, shut the door, and shut the door.
Oh, great.
Go for it.
Shut the door.
All right, good job. You're the frontier, so I want you to call up your May West. And I want you to... So every time you hear the word frontier, you say, way out west.
Way out west.
Very good, all right.
Oh, you need more room.
You're the Indian. So every time you hear the word Indian, you're going to say Geronimo and let the arrow go.
Geronimo.
All right, great. Now, if all of you thought you were getting away, you're not. You are the word Thanksgiving. So every time you hear the word Thanksgiving, you're going to stand up and say, yum, yum. Ready? Thanksgiving.
Yum, yum.
All right, very good. Now, we always save the best part for last, which is the turkey.
Gobble, gobble.
So she's got it down. So every time you hear the word turkey, you're going to say, gobble, gobble, gobble.
Gobble,
That's
gobble, gobble. Okay.
All right. Are we all ready? All right, here we go. Early one Thanksgiving morning, many years ago on the old frontier, a settler, yeah, he's a settler. He wasn't the front. Who's the frontier? May West?
Oh, I thought it had a name with it. Way out west.
There you go. All right. Should we start from the beginning? Because ready? Early one Thanksgiving morning, many years ago on the old frontier, a settler stood before his lonely cabin with his trusty gun and his faithful dog, ready to hunt the turkey that he needed for dinner, hoping no Indians would spoil his feast. Whistling to his dog, the settler shouldered his gun and started down the forest trail. Meantime, the Indian, also with a dog, came down the forest trail from the other direction. Just at that moment, a weird-looking turkey flew out between them. Off went the arrow and off went the gun. Down fell the turkey. In bounded the dogs. Up rushed the Indian and the settler. It's mine, claimed the settler. Ugh, him mine, said the Indian. Snarled the dogs. The noise of the argument shook the cabin. And awoke the whole frontier. But the turkey, which was only stunned, took off unsteadily and flew in the open door of the cabin, where it was promptly captured by the Indian and the settler and the dogs. And thus Thanksgiving came to a lonely cabin on the old frontier. Give them a round of applause. They did a great job. Okay. Why would I do something like that? So, that is just like a Sunday service. Every single ministry has its part. But what happened when the part didn't come in? Nobody knew what to do. And the story came to a stop. And the cool part was that you, the congregation, yelled at them to tell them what to do. Yeah. Guided them. Yeah, guided them. And then some of you missed your parts. Some of you missed your come in, all those kind of points. So what happens is the story literally stops. And that's what goes on a Sunday morning when somebody doesn't do their part. There's a hiccup. The story becomes incomplete. And what happens is the congregation has a part, and all the different ministries have a part. And it's really important to understand that we either cause the story to be told or we cause the story not to be told. That's what's really going on in that process. How you show up matters. Everything affects everything. I love this comic strip that says, I had a half a date last weekend. How do you have half a date? I showed up, but he didn't. Do you show up? Do you know what you're doing? Do you know how you're doing it? Are you fully conscious in what you're doing? So, this is what it looks like when someone you don't like hugs you. So, let me talk about hugging. We're a very huggy community. I want you to know that we have people who do not return because they are hugged because they didn't want to be hugged. And they'll say stuff like this to me. You're a real huggy community, but I'm not a hugger. So what happens when we hug people who do not want to be hugged? We make them uncomfortable. It's a violation of their space. Yeah. So here's a rule of thumb. It's great that your best buddy is there and that they're comfortable and you want to hug them. No issue. When you do not know the person, the proper thing is to go up and say, hi, my name's Reverend Norm. Who are you? Connie. Nice to have you here, Connie. Okay? That's the proper thing to do. That's the proper thing to do. You do not hug people who you do not know because you have no sense of what their space is or what they like or dislike. Now, after a couple weeks, they may hug you. But we don't want this going on. It disrupts it. It is the same thing with the welcome team. You are the first face of the community. And I heard people on the welcome team say, we're a real huggy community. And I'm like, oh, God. No. How are you? How did you hear about us? Welcome. It's good to have you here. So just a real respect for that. Handshake is a real key component in doing that. And if they reach out to hug you, great. That's no problem. But automatic, and everyone needs to do this in the community. The Easter Bonnet Parade. Waving and saying hello to people during the service is inappropriate. Ushers get to count every week. Some of the counters are looking at people and saying hello as they're counting. I don't know how you can count and do that because I know the brain can only focus on one thing at a time. So that conscious awareness that when you're in your ministry, you're in your ministry. You're not in a parade. You're not waving. You're not doing any of those things. You're really in it. You know what you're doing and how you're doing it as well. Once everyone's in prayer, one must be led back out slowly. So there's a reason why we do the prayer at the end of the sermon, and then the lights start to come back up, and we sing, I am the place where God lives, because we're bringing people from a very deep sacred space into a much more livelier space. So it's done with that music. So you'll notice that we start, I am the place where God lives. When we sing that, you will see that we start singing it just ordinary. And you'll notice that the musicians do what? They make it larger and larger and larger, and then how does it end? Large. What has that done emotionally to folks? It wakes them back up and brings them right back into that active space. Songs to transition from active to more passive are critical. So the stuff that Ken does underneath on the keyboard is really critical. To be able to feel and sense that and know it and be able to feel what's going on in the words in the congregation. Doesn't he do an amazing job with that? Yeah, he does. Music helps make all these transitions happen. Whether reading, listening, or actively participating, you help guide and direct by everything that you are doing, and doing it consciously as well. The song prior to the sermon sets the container for the minister to speak. The sermon is really critical. Hopefully, sermon is good. I want to Rick's the only minister here in the room, but I don't know if Jennifer's listening, but Rick as well as Jennifer are also very, very good speakers. So no, I don't think a lot needs to be said there. We do know ministers who don't speak well, but 60% of your audience are visual learners. So that's why we have PowerPoint. You'll notice the difference when you have a minister who doesn't use PowerPoint. You'll notice a big difference. 60% of us learn by visually seeing, so that's the importance of PowerPoint. Treatment after the sermon and moving people into the chant so that we root the message. The collection of tithes, the final announcements, and the children coming in. That's all active. All that's being done with lights, music, sound, all those things really make a big difference. And then the closing song. What does that title say?
Everything affects everything.
It's a basic principle of cause and effect. Everything is affecting everything. So you are affecting everything. Among the signs and symbols in a celebration, music is of the most premier importance. Music should assist the congregation to express and share the divine gift of faith that is within them and nourish and strengthen the interior commitment of faith. The songs need to fit the celebration. Music should heighten the text and themes so that they speak more fully and effectively. The musicians are critical as a servant to the ministry. So we're really lucky. We have musicians who are very conscious, but their role is to cause the experience to happen through music. It's critically important. It's not a performance. We applaud them, and there's no problem with that. But that's not their main role. They're not here to get your applause. They're here to touch your hearts. They're here to help us into an experience. So learning that as a musician is critically important. In addition to expressing teachings, music can unveil a dimension of meaning and feeling, a communication of ideas and intuition which words alone cannot yield. So when you apply music and words together, it instantly takes people to a different place. So that's how critical and important music is. So from a spending, because I'm not, this is being taped today, so hello, people are being taped. It's also going to be used in other communities in Philadelphia. Hello, Philadelphia. Vegas is also going to be using this videotape as well, our community in Vegas. Really important that you spend money in the music department. You got to spend money. If Sunday service is the most critical thing we do, then you got to spend money. You got to pay your musicians well. You've got to demand quality in doing all of that. Musicians must search for and create music of quality for celebration. Music selections must match the action of the service and serve as an instrument to the rest of the service. It has to be connected together. That's your purpose.
So I know that coming in here, my goal is to create this experience and for everyone to be part of it together.
Yeah, it's knowing that you're the vehicle, the vessel for the expression of the divine.
Absolutely.
So
And
you do need to be
Yeah, you do.
Because it's like everything, it's just like the Disney analogy. One of the reasons why Disney is so magical and why it works so well is because every single person that is that has a role in Disney is good at their job. They know what their job is and they're good at it. But the minute the audience comes in, or the minute the patrons come in the park, the guests, they call them guests. The minute the guests come in, it's all about the guests. It's only about them. So I think that, you know, when we're talking about the music here, you have to really check your heart. Because if you're coming in here for any part, whether you're a greeter or a practitioner or a musician, if you come in thinking that this is your time to shine, then you're coming in here for the wrong reason. You need to check your heart because it's going to start there, and that's going to create the experience that everybody else is feeling. And if you're not right here, people can feel it.
Of course they can. Of course they can. Yeah, well said. Very well said. For every single ministry, that's so critical to be able to do that as well. So, who are these? They are the Rockettes. So there is a basic law and principle in drama, and that is whatever moves gets the attention. Whatever moves gets the attention. So if all the Rockettes are using their right leg, and one of the Rockettes uses the left leg, what happens? Everyone looks at the left leg. So that's what's really important to understand your space and your ministry. So if you are moving at the wrong time, or you are not aware that it's not time for you to move, what happens is you get the attention. And what we are trying to do is get the attention of the different parts of the service, make sure they get the attention. So when the prayer is going on and the reading with the practitioner, all eyes need to be on them. So if something over here is moving, what gets the attention? The movement does, not the ritual center of action. So if the ushers do not come up in a timely manner and they have to be called, then what happens is instead of moving when the place was active and everybody's getting their money ready, then the flow is disrupted. So everything affects everything on the way, how you stand, how you do it, whether you're conscious, you're not conscious, those sorts of things as well. Now, because we do things in a ritualistic manner, the congregation knows what's coming next because we've trained them to do that, so they know. So when someone doesn't get up on time, the same thing will happen in that Thanksgiving story. They'll poke or they'll look or they'll do something to poke them. And so everything affects everything. It's really critical to do that. So seating is an art of hospitality. And so the true hospitality consists in giving the best of yourselves to your guest. So when you seat people as ushers, you need to do so with great dignity and lead them to a place that they want to be seated, not where you want them to sit. I watch our ushers force people into seats, and then after you turn around and go back because you think, good, I got them into the seat, they turn around and go get seated where they want to seat. So it's really important to be doing that. So a couple things on ushers. Taking the collection in a timely manner helps circulate prosperity. Abundance is not something we acquire, it's something we tune into. So making sure ushers are up and already in place as soon as I begin to stand. Right after we've done the chant of I am the place where God lives, ushers should automatically be ready to do it. Shouldn't have to wait for ushers to come up the aisle. We shouldn't have to do this. So being absolutely ready. Ushers create a sacred space by holding the energy in the room. By the way you are when you pass the basket, that awareness of being fully in tune with what people are doing. You are the welcome team. You are the first impression of the CSLCS community. Hospitality is not to change people, but to offer them a space where change can take place. So greeting them in a beautiful manner, shaking their hand, saying hello to them, making sure they know where the bathroom is, and making sure you point them to where the sanctuary is, so that and then you have an eye on them And then when we drive them downstairs, which is why we give them a free donut, by the way, we give them a little coupon on Donut Sundays that gets them downstairs. The welcome team downstairs needs to start introducing them to people, making them feel at home so that they know where everything is. So, real important piece. Welcome team, you build the community with new people by speaking to them with kindness and being inquisitive. How did you hear about us? Have any questions for me? Can I help direct you where you need to go? You know, is there anything else you need? I'm here for you. I invite you to the celebration hall after the service. And then you're down there with them, introducing them to people as well. Hospitality is simply love on loose. It's really what it is. You're being very production team. Now, the production team is the folks that are making all the things happen behind the scenes. It's the sound, the lights, the slides. They help create this sacred experience. This behind-the-scenes ministry creates one of the most important roles in creating sacred space. It's all going on, and they're making it happen behind the scenes. So their preparedness, their awareness, their attitude, if something changes, because things change at the last minute, they just do. So all of that's really, really important. The experience of sacred space makes possible the founding in the world, where the sacred manifests itself in space, the real unveils itself, and the world comes into existence. The production team is probably one of the most unseen, most important piece of the sacred experience we're having. So if the lights don't go down when they're supposed to, it affects the thing. If the sound's not on when someone speaks up to the thing, then they have to tap it. So you're tapping it, which is a movement of what? The left leg or the right leg going. And then what happens? Where do you look? Yeah. So all of a sudden, everyone's aware the sound didn't come on. Everyone's aware of the mistake instead of just really being conscious about it as well. Church is a sacred space for the congregation. You are responsible for that sacred space. You are the driver's seat. Knowing when the lights go down creates an instant container for prayer and for listening. Making sure the slides come up when they were supposed to come up, or make sure that the video works during the sermon. All those pieces have to work. This experience of sacred space makes possible the founding of the world, where the sacred manifests itself in space. The real unveils itself and the world comes into existence. We're all doing it. Practitioners. You are the prayer arm of the church. If your consciousness is not there, it's affecting the consciousness of the celebration. You anchor the space and the people in it. So our practitioners are holding consciousness during the service. They're anchoring the space. They're anchoring the people in it by holding on to prayer and being conscious of it. You create a heart space where people can see themselves as whole, perfect, and complete. You get to hear the stories. You get to experience the pain. You get to feel the effect of the sermon. You will notice every time I talk about forgiveness, your line is longer. Because whatever I talk about stirs something in them, and it is you who brings them back to center. You're responsible for that anchoring of the service and prayer. Your words of inspiration help create a container, set the theme and the tone for the service. Being comfortable in your body allows the congregation to be comfortable as well. If you're not comfortable in your body, when you're standing there or you're playing with the mic or you're doing any of those things, all of which should have been taken care of before the service, it disrupts the flow of the service. Okay? Announcement team. Are any of them here today? Good. Maria's and Dawn. You are the first official person the congregation encounters. I know. So, you help set the tone for a welcoming community, introducing yourselves and welcoming people. We're not so good about that. We introduce ourselves, but then we really need to welcome the community. Say, good morning, so glad you're here today, because you're the first official face that really gets to happen, in the process. You are causing excitement and hunger for our activities and classes. You are actually a salesman. You're selling, you're not reading. You are responsible for getting people excited about the classes, about that which we are offering. It should be done with humor. Marie has no problem there. Clarity and excitement. So that's what you're instilling, is excitement in what's really happening in the classes and what it is that we're celebrating. Now we're now down to 4 announcements. So the 4 announcements that are, thank God, they got totally out of hand. You are activating the art of persuasion. So when you're not prepared, or you're just simply reading, or you're misreading things in the piece, you have disrupted the art of persuasion. The art of persuasion is you are persuading people and actually selling. That's really what you're doing. Sacred Environment Team, that's the people who do all the decorations and the things that you see. I'm actually the head of that team because I have a passion around it. The space cannot be satisfied with anything less than the beautiful in all its artifacts, movements, and appealing to the senses. So I'm keenly aware of when junk gets gathered in the sanctuary. So when crap is stuck back here, musicians stick their stuff back here. If you're sitting right there, you have a direct eye to the crap. And I don't like crap in the stage because it disrupts. It says we're not organized. It says we're not careful with what we do. There are 3 ritual centers of action. We've already talked about them. The podium, the musicians, and the minister chairs, which is actually the people. Nothing should impede the space that does not allow flow for the ritual. So, we want to have lots of space around the ritual centers of action so that things can happen, so that there's a flow. If I have to jump over things to get to the middle, in our old space, we used to have larger things in front of the podium, and so when I would turn around, I'd get brushed or I'd knock the vase down. So that impedes the sacred space. It impedes it. So space is really important to make sure that it flows really well. So we do that at Christmas. You'll notice there, we make sure that nothing gets in the way. The Christmas Eve service, which is one of our bigger services, we want to make sure it's set up so there's plenty of space so people know where to put their eyes. There is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. That's really what we're doing on that Sunday morning. So, what are you going to take away from today? I want to hear.
Being prepared in whatever it is I'm doing, because it affects the flow.
It affects everything, yeah.
We're really showing up as individuals, kind of cogs in the wheel, and we really are responsible for all of it collectively.
This is not just a job, because as staff, this is our job. But when we come here, especially on Sundays, making the differentiation from just getting everything done to being a part of it and creating an experience, it makes it makes my job more spiritual and more fulfilling as well.
Yes, good.
I need to make sure that the ministerial teams know exactly what their roles are and what they need to do. So.
Awesome.
I love the creativity in the service. I just love it. I love to see the flow of it and what it allows for the congregation.
Awesome.
The importance of educating people to their role to create the container
Yes.
for the experience to happen.
Yeah. Cool.
I think it's so beautiful the way everyone complements each other, how it all comes together as that perfect experience.
Yes.
It's all about being an authentic expression of the divine.
It is.
All of us.
Yeah, very good. Michael.
I like what Denise said. It's not a gig. It's about touching people's hearts.
Yeah. Very, very cool. David.
So I remember when I first came here, one of the things that I recall was to be part of the service and then to come back. And I was going to come back anyway, but I was not invited to come back. But I did get a package, and the package really helped to solidify the fact that I was coming back and I was going to become a member here.
Awesome.
When I am downstairs, I am a welcome team. I'm all of these things put into one, and if I'm not present or if I let something from the outside come in, I'm affecting their experience from downstairs to coming up and being separate from their child. So I have to leave them in that space of comfort and trust and welcoming so that they will also feel to come back.
Absolutely. So.
That we're stepping up to excellence, being the best we can be individually and as a group.
Yeah, key. Anybody else? Well, I want to thank you because you actually do it. You do it every single Sunday, and you do it brilliantly and with great heart, because people come here and what they say is that they can feel it. They can feel the way you greet them and how you love them and all those wonderful things that they say about that. And all of that's being done non-verbally, by the way. It's a feeling thing. They walk away feeling like they're at home. They feel like they're welcome. They feel like they're part of this amazing space. And you do that every single week, and we can't do it without you. And so I thank you. I thank you for your faithfulness around that piece and remembering who you are. That's the first thing of why we gather today. The second reason we other gather is actually what Sue just said, and that is stepping up in excellence. You know, what is up next? So one of our marketing pieces that we're looking at is creating the spiritual community of the 21st century. And we don't know what that is yet. We just know we're creating it. I can tell you that we're really growing with our online audience. So we have a whole audience that watches us that has never been through these doors. And so they're capturing the energy through video, you know, through the ways they're watching us. I met 2 women recently when I was doing the Christmas tree project, when we were distributing the trees. They said hello to me, and I had never seen them before, because I'm really good at memorizing faces. And I'm like, I don't think I know who those people are. And so I went up and they said, yeah, you don't know us, but we know you. We watch you every single week. And I said, really, how did you find us? And they said, well, we're not sure how we found you, but all of a sudden, well, I know exactly how they found us, because our marketing is doing what it's supposed to do, and that is they actually found us through Facebook. And then from there, they ended up watching our Sunday service. So I said, you should come sometime and experience live. And so they've been coming. They came 3 weeks ago and have been coming ever since. So we have a whole nother community that we're affecting in that process. So we also have yet to begin to ask the question of, what is that like for the people who are watching virtually? How can we touch their hearts like we touch people in the room? Are we doing it virtually? So that'll be another up-leveling that we'll need to do. But the good thing about the Divine is there's just constant expansion, this constant growth. So I thank you for spending the morning with me. To close, I've asked Ken to lead us through a wonderful song. I invite you to stand, hold hands with each other. Let's use this as our closing prayer.
I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the the place where God shows up.
And so it is. Thank you, everybody.
We rock.
All right. We do rock.